Recently, Marvel decided to restart the Iron Man book, calling it Tony Stark Iron Man, and we brought you issue 1 already. I'll link that down below. It pretty much established Stark Industries as the new status quo for Tony Stark, his new team, everyone that works with him. Well, today, we're going to bring you 2 more individual storylines, one of which is just how Tony Stark and Rhodey deal with people stealing Stark tech right now, and then the one after that is setting up the new story arc, Escape. They're 2 separate stories. Personally, I feel that the issue 2 is a little short, so that's why we wanted to give you issue 3 as well. So, Tony Stark Iron Man issues 2 and 3. And if you're wondering where you are, this is the complete story series. We take comic books, we read them back to you dramatically, we give you an audiobook narrative. It's kind of cool, kind of fun. I like doing it. You seem to like watching it. Enjoy Tony Stark Iron Man issues 2 and 3. As the day begins at SU, Tony gathers his people to inform him that it has come to his attention that his armor needs a built-in AI system. Brody asks, what is the problem? Can't he just program one in? And Tony says that it's not that simple. Is it, Jocasta? Jocasta tells him that it is immoral to coop up an AI in a tech suit, like there's some hopeless passenger. That is why her first act as the robotic ethicist was to remove Friday from his armor. Just then, Friday walks in stating that her ears were burning. She just wanted to remind everyone that tonight is karaoke night. Tony tells everyone that they need to focus. They have a new complex AI called Motherboard who's running the project Escape. What if they patch her into the armor but left her where she's at? The robot equivalent of a phone a friend. Jocasta tells him that that could work, as long as she's not housed in the armor. That happened to her once. It was awful. Andy looks around stating that if he has given access to Motherboard, he should be able to get her integrated within the hour. However, just before everyone can leave for lunch, Bethany rushes in stating that there's an emergency staff meeting now. And right behind her is an older woman. Everyone gathers around and Andy looks at the woman stating that isn't that Amanda Armstrong, the British rock legend? Costa tells him that is correct. She is upper management, a former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and as well as Tony's biological mother. A few moments pass and Andy repeats those words in his head. And then he simply shouts, "Wait, what?" Rhodey asks if this is related to the mysterious break-ins that they've been having, and Bethany tells him possibly. While hacking into some of the competitors' databases, which she wasn't caught doing by the way, a discovery was made that Banetronics has been illegally acquiring a lot of proprietary Stark tech, which they're using to build this. The screen on the table changes to an image of a large vehicle, and Bethany says that this is the Manticor, an all-terrain assault vehicle. It's unbelievably lethal, and the bad part, Sunset Bane is auctioning it off to the highest bidder today. Tony grabs his helmet stating, "Ha, we have to move. If a hostile power gets their hands on that today, it could be God knows where tomorrow, and we're stopping it now." Later that evening at the Banetronics test range, a series of targets are scattered across the site when the Manticore steam rolls in, easily knocking the tanks out of its way. Sunset tells the crowd that not only can it blow up helicopters and tanks, but it also has pinpoint precision. If any of you would like to pick out a soft target, one of the bidders then states, "How about the smallest one? It is supposed to be a child, yes?" Sunset presses a button saying, "Lose the kid, Manticore." And as the button is pressed, the Manticore fires its cannons, obliterating the child test dummy. He then goes on stating, "Those are microwave beam rifles. They can cook a specific target inside and out. Gentlemen, Banetronics gives you a future of armed vehicles. The undisputed master of land, sea, and air, the Manticore." Now let's get started. Who's our first bidder? All of the bidders throw out their arms, calling out hundreds of millions of dollars, but a voice calls out, -1 red cent. And that's when she looks back, asking, "Who?" She simply says, "Oh, you." Tony lands on the stage with Sunset, and Sunset yells, "Attention, Banetronic shoppers, you're in for a bonus. You're about to see our store model take out one of Earth's finest." Tony shouts, "Bring it on!" And Sunset tells him, "All right, Manticore, target War Machine." Gauntlet calls out to the other security forces, stating that they heard Sunset let the Manticore pilot take out Colonel Rhodes, and the rest of them, they're gonna focus on Stark. As the fight begins to get heated over at the Banetronics test range, back at the Stark Unlimited common area, the staff gather for food. However, as everyone laughs and talks, Bethany notices someone new. She scans the new person, stating that the only recruit that they should have is Andy. So she charges in, slamming the woman to the ground, shouting, "Who are you? Do you work for Roxxon, Bane?" The woman tries to tell her to wait, but Bethany punches her, and that's when there's a loud clang. She pulls back her fist, rubbing it, asking, "What the?" And everyone looks to see the new woman's image fade, and Jocasta appearing in her place. Jocasta says, I just wanted to have lunch with you all. I'm sorry." She begins to run home, but back at Banetronics, the Manticore focuses its firing on Rhodey, forcing him to eject from the War Machine's suit. He takes a deep breath, stating, "Okay, I can breathe, alive and breathing." But the pilot from the Manticore yells, "Not for long, pal." As Tony struggles with Gauntlet, he sees that Rhodey is about to get crushed and he seems to be panicking and he doesn't know what's going on, so he tells Motherboard to connect to the Stark tech inside of that thing. Motherboard confirms that Tony is now connected to Manticor, and Tony yells, "Eject the pilot!" A few seconds later, Manticore's cockpit opens up, flinging the pilot out, and with no one controlling it, it begins to go out of control. Rhodey climbs up, grabbing the controls, stating, "All right, I can do this. I can do this. I can." And a few moments later, as Gauntlet is shot off, Tony and Rhodey can be heard laughing over the intercom, stating, "This thing's got non-lethal weapons too. I'm so hanging on to this." Sunset makes her way through the crowd, stating that they just broke onto private property. And Tony tells her, "Yeah? And you stole Stark tech." Sunset tells him, "Well, we built it into something that you want. How about we discuss this over dinner, Mr. Stark?" But back at Jocasta's home, she walks in and a voice tells her, "You're home early. What happened to hanging out with the humans?" Jocasta says that she changed her mind and she does not wish to talk about it. The voice then says that she's avoiding contradictions. That's her Bride of Ultron voice. What happened? She sighs, stating, "I made a fool of myself. The truth is, I don't want to stand out. I want to understand the humans. I want to fit in, belong. That is why I've decided to ask Stark if I can take part in Project Escape." Aaron Stack, the Machine Man, steps out shouting, "No! You told me what that could mean for our kind. And you're going to be doing that over my dead artificial body." The next day, Tony takes his team out to Washington Square Park to make the big announcement. Escape is going into beta, and they're all going in. They need to test out the NPCs to see if people can tell the difference between actual people and their computer-generated cast in this VR simulation. So Bethany says that sounds like a security nightmare, seeing as their systems are already compromised. Tony tells everyone, "It'll be fine. Just a little hide and seek. All the new locations have been added so you can all go wherever you want." So everyone tries to figure out where they want to go in this virtual VR world. Andy whispers to Amanda, asking, You wouldn't mind signing my record, would you? I'm a huge fan." She takes it, signs it, telling him, "Sure." She did see a concert stadium, and she was thinking of reliving her old glory days. "Do you want to jam?" Andy asks, "For real? Hell yeah!" And Amanda laughs, "All right, it'll be a date." Rhodey then asks if there's any type of military applications in the Escape universe. And Tony tells him, "Nah, this is all just for fun." Rhodey begins to leave and says that they can count him out. Besides, between the both of them, they both know why he's doing this. As Tony gets quiet, Jocasta steps up asking if it'd be okay if she joined. She is in essence a non-player character. However, before she could finish, a voice shouts, asking, "Are you begging to be a part of the fleshbag invasion of cyberspace?" Jocasta sighs as Aaron Stack storms up, and she tells him that this is her boyfriend, Aaron Stack, Machine Man. Aaron yells, "That's Machine Man to the beat, boy!" And Tony says, "We have met before." Never really understood the name, though. Machine Man. Isn't it kind of redundant, Aaron? It's like calling an automobile vehicle car. And Aaron says, "Yeah, well, Iron Man is stupid. The suit isn't even made out of iron. Besides, we all know what this is about. You just want to dress up like a robot. You're appropriating robo-culture." As Jocasta takes Aaron away, the team heads back to SU to begin testing and allowing the beta users in. The goal for the testers is to determine which are Stark Unlimited employees and which are NPCs. Cash prizes will be awarded to those who manage to rack up the most knockouts without eliminating 3 NPCs. The tests go off without a hitch, except for Andy and Amanda, who are rocking out at a concert. While Amanda performs, a user flies by stating that they're terrible. Only real people could be that terrible. As the player eliminates Andy and Amanda, Motherboard tells them good job. They will be awarded 2 credits. Back in the real world, Andy and Amanda take off their user masks and ask, how awful do you have to be to throw Amanda Armstrong out of her own concert? Amanda tells them that he's just being too hard on himself. She wasn't that good. Next up, the users make their way to the Wild West town to try and spot more people. However, as the users get there, a warning flashes across the sky with Motherboard telling all of the users to take cover. There's been a breach and this is not a drill. The users try to figure out what's going on, with many of them being shot and Aaron shouting, "That's right, Fleshbags, I'm shutting you down, all of you. Cyberspace is for cyber people." He moves from world to world, killing off the AIs, telling them that they are slaves. All of them are dancing for these skin sacks amusement. But once he gets into the mystical realm, the last of the users gather around to try and fight him. The Doctor Strange-themed user tells everyone to fall back. Their attacks are useless. Magic users, though, conjure the exact same spell he's about to use. Aaron asks, "Really, meatbags? This isn't magic. There's no real power here. My interface gives me permissions that are far beyond yours." As the magic users begin to cast their spells, lines of code shoot out and begin to wrap Aaron up, holding him in place. He shouts, "That's impossible! No one can program thousands of lines of code that fast." And the Doctor Strange user tells him, "Not for Escape's source coder supreme, it isn't." The Iron Man user yells, "That's him! Tony Stark!" Tony asks, what gave it away? So the Iron Man user tells him, the ego. Tony tells him, fair point. Now just do me a favor and don't blast me. You're the last beta user. You've already won. Aaron breaks free from the code, grabbing onto Tony, telling him, you are so full of yourself. What's this? Access granted? Now we can all see the secret reason you built this place. Tony shouts, no! And Aaron asks, are you resisting? Then it must be good. The Iron Man user holds out his arm, stating that he can blast him, but they would end up hitting him too. And Tony yells back, don't do it. Aaron's connection is too strong. So the user tells him, that's it. I'm the last tester. That means if I lose, the user holds up their blasters to their face and they fire. The Escape world begins to fade and the user then asks, how did I do? Tony tells Aaron that he would like to introduce him to one of Stark Unlimited's best employees. The user's image begins to change and in her place is Jocasta. She tells Aaron that when they get home tonight, they're gonna have a talk. Tony laughs, ow, that doesn't sound good, Aaron. Later, once the breach is patched up, Bethany says that it seems that the person stealing all of their tech was Aaron using Jocasta's security clearances. Tony tells her, excellent work. That's everything wrapped up in a nice tidy bow. And Bethany says that's why he pays her the best. While Jocasta begins setting up to stay in the building, Tony runs over and says that he would like to thank her for what she did today. She was honored to be asked to be a part of his human trials. Tony then says, it was nothing. Actually, it's more everything. The secret of Escape was to see if AIs and humans can interact on an everything level, as equals, to see if there really is a difference between us and you. He takes off his glasses, stating, Rudy's the only one who knows this, but I need to be honest here. A while back, I erased my brain and digitally reinstalled it from a backup, and recently, I've re-engineered my entire body cell by cell. By doing that, I wasn't so sure I had a soul anymore. Do I have a soul? Jocasta tells him that she's not sure, but for what she can tell him is that she has a soul. Good night, Tony. And once the employees all clear out of the building, Jocasta checks to make sure the coast is clear, takes out her interface and hides it away in the locker. She tells Motherboard to open up Escape and run the program J01 Dreamhouse. As she puts on the interface, she's brought to a world where she is human, and Motherboard asks if there's anything she would like to do tonight. She tells Motherboard nothing. Good night, Motherboard, and she happily goes to bed. So like I said at the beginning, guys, I wasn't a huge fan of issue 2. Actually, when we were reading this initially, I was like, oh, we're just going back to classic Tony Stark. And I felt it was a shorter issue. So we combined it with issue 3, which includes Escape and the Jocasta situation and what's going on with the AIs and all these other crazy stuff. Now that's the interesting story. And I want to get you hooked into this storyline because Tony Stark Iron Man, written by Dan Slott, is really good. And if you want to know what direction this storyline takes, if you've seen the Black Mirror storyline, the Black Mirror show on Netflix, which is basically like a Twilight Zone horror story kind of thing shaped around technology and AI, that's what they're doing with Tony Stark, and it is incredible. So we're gonna bring you the next couple of issues very soon if you subscribe to the channel. It's time to get you caught up on the current Iron Man run, you know, since he was like a bad guy, and then he was like also a bad guy, and then he was like knocked into a coma, and then he was like turned into a blue Smurf that apparently drank and got drunk. I still don't know how that even happened. Remind me sometime to just tell you the story of Blue Smurf Tony Stark getting drunk and why Benny thought it was dumb. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next time right here at Comicstorian.